Live the type of life where you know that if you were to die tomorrow, you've accomplished things that you wanted to accomplish and you don't have any regrets.
I feel like looking forward, you never know where you're going. But when you look back, you see where every connection, every little dot connects to get you to where you are. And it just makes it it's so weird. Everything when you look back is simple to see.
I would still hope that there's something they're doing in their life, even to the smallest degree, that serves the world. Because if you live life purely out of self-pleasure, I don't think you really are living purpose. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Purpose Over Pleasure podcast with your host, Alex Payne, and today's co-host, new to the show, right? The man behind the scenes, behind the cameras, usually, my man, Jesse. Jesse, welcome to the show, brother.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me, and I look forward to asking you these questions.
Thank you. And today is going to be a little different, guys. Today we are going to be doing the Q&As. Now, I noticed over the last we're on season 4 now. Over the last, let's say, 3 years, I've been getting questions. I've been getting some DMs. I've been getting some comments on both YouTube Reels and long format videos, and also the short reels from on Instagram. People ask me questions sometimes, mostly men, which is great. And so over the time, I've been collecting those, and now Jesse's going to ask me those questions, and I'm going to try to answer those questions to the best of my ability. So for those of you guys who asked me a question, I kind of left you on red, or I don't think I left any one of you on red. I usually reply to you guys directly, but questions are good, so we're going to answer them for the entire public. So Jesse's got a bunch of questions that he's going to ask me today, and that's how we're going to run the show. Jesse, the floor is yours, my man.
Cool. So the first question is, what does it mean to have purpose in life?
Pretty basic question, but can get really complicated. So the answer to that question is this: to have purpose in life is to live the type of life where you know that if you were to die tomorrow, you've accomplished things that you wanted to accomplish and you don't have any regrets. In other words, if you were to die tomorrow, if you're in a deathbed and you know you have an hour left, are you going to start regretting things you haven't done? Are you going to start missing and feeling like you missed out on things? Or are you going to say to yourself, you know what? I've accomplished anything or most of what I wanted to accomplish, and I'm ready to meet the Almighty. That is kind of like the broad answer to the question, right? That's kind of like what I ask myself sometimes. I'm like, hey, if I were to die tomorrow, because tomorrow's never guaranteed, how would I feel? Okay, I've done this, I've done that, I've done this, I've done that, I've tried this. Okay, something I haven't done, but mostly I've done whatever I wanted to do. So, okay, I'm good with it for the most part.
Would you think that, new experiences would be a part of that too, or just kind of accomplishing things that you want to accomplish?
New experiences are always important. That makes you a wiser person with a broader spectrum of experiences and wisdom. There's nothing wrong with that. If you want to try new things, I highly encourage that. The problem comes in is when you can't focus on one or two things at a time. A lot of people, I guess, have ADHD or whatever it is, but I also think fear and anxiety and worry, those things play a big factor. They start something, and instead of dialing in and focusing on one thing, they decide to go wide instead of go narrow. There's this thing called singularity of focus. I learned that from Bedros Keuilian. Shout out to UB. Singularity of focus, and Kevin has that too, and I've developed that as well. You need to pick one or two things if you can, and really, really focus on that, and give it your attention, give it your hard work, give it your resilience, give it your whatever you got. If you want it to succeed, if you start spreading yourself thin, and I've done it myself, and I've seen people do it to themselves as well, you're not going to be able to accomplish that thing to the best of your ability. So yes, do try new things, but understand that there's always going to be a shiny object. Always. You just have to pick it right.
What would you consider spreading too thin? Because, for example, Kevin, a lot of you guys, I'm sure, know who Kevin is from
Oh yeah,
watching
they know
the
who Kevin
podcast.
is. Yeah.
Kevin does a million things,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of them are very a part of one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that that is spreading too thin for most people? Or do you think that because it's kind of all encompassed into one thing, that that still would be focusing on one?
So that's a really good question, and it might get a little confusing to the public because what Kevin does and a lot of those things I do with him as well is it's like a web of things that spread out over the years and grew. Back when we started, it was just Cube World USA, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's all we had. He founded the company. I joined them about a year into it, and then it was just Cube World USA. Now over the years, right, we developed these different things. I had my podcast, and then he started the Cube World Media, and then we got the World Transporter, and then Cube World Films is here, and Cube World Production, and then all these things, and ICC, and all of these things that we do now. But it all started and stemmed from Cube World USA.
Mm-hmm.
Us alone, between me and him alone, we have a very vast network and of people that we know, that we work with, do business with, and so it is kind of a web, and different parts of it also feed each other.
Mm-hmm.
However, you have to understand, Kevin's been in business for a long time. Okay, he's been in business for, I don't know, how old are you, bro?
I'm 26.
Okay, 26. He's been in business for over 20 years. Like he started, when he was a teenager and before that. He comes from a family of entrepreneurs, and he's been in business for a long time. And I know how he is a person. So he's developed decades of experience, and he's able to see things ahead of time. Things that I don't notice sometimes because I don't have the same experience.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's the same thing. For example, if you put me and him in a cop car, right? I know certain things because I have almost a decade of experience. I know how to read body language. I know how to read people, gang signs, streets, drug transactions, all that stuff. Right? I can foresee things. I can see when people trying to run from me or fight me. Body language, right? Same thing is Kevin in business. Like he's got that experience. So it's a yes and a no. For me, I don't like doing that because I don't have decades of experience in business. So I try to stay focused on one, two, maybe three things, but usually one, two. That's why I don't spread myself then into other businesses with him,
Mm-hmm.
and he knows that and he respects that. But he's able to do it all around. However, there have been times, and I say this with love, and if he's watching this, where he has spread himself thin more than once, and I was their person telling him, "Hey, bro, like you need to stop doing it to yourself. You either end up in a hospital or sick and nearly dead. Like he will go hardcore." And by watching him, I've done it to myself as well. And I've been sick, and I've had shingles, and I've had anxiety attacks. So I was like, all right, I want to focus on this one or two things at most and really grow it to the point of automation. And like this podcast, right? I've grown it, I've developed it, I've developed skills, I have the studio. And now to the point where it's like, listen, I press the button,
Mm-hmm.
and I record, and I'm less than grateful to have people like you also working with us who can help me out and answer questions and show me some really dope apps out there who make my life easier. So that helps out a lot because you
Mm-hmm.
build a team. When you build a team, then your life becomes easier, and then you really can do a lot of things
Yeah.
all at once. But it takes a
lot
lot
of
of time,
support.
effort, blood, sweat, and tears, like blood and sweat equity, to find the team because we've fired and hired so many people, bro. So many people, and you've probably seen we've done it ever since you joined. Like just this week we fired somebody
Mm-hmm.
from a Cube World USA team.
It's
So
been there for a long time.
it's
too.
been there for a long time,
Mhm.
probably the longest.
Yeah.
Yeah, but people lie, people steal, people just have bad energy and attitudes.
Stuck
And hey,
in their
time to go.
ways too.
You gotta sometimes pick up a rotten apple and throw it away, otherwise the whole batch will get
Mhm.
rotten.
Yeah. So the next thing that I want to know is how would I know if I'm living my purpose?
That's a good question. There's no right or wrong answer to that one. There's no cookie cutter answer because it stems to one simple fact. What do you think your purpose in life is? Do you feel like you live in life of purpose in the sense that you wake up, you go to work? Does that fulfill you?
Mm-hmm.
Your family, your relationship, like you and your girlfriend, your relationship, does that fulfill you? You come here, does this fulfill you? whatever you do on the side, business, you write blogs, make videos, work for artists, does that fulfill you? Does it ultimately give you a pleasure, I guess, whatever, but does it make you feel like you've served somebody, like you've done something good for the society? Because if it's only making you money, I don't think it's purpose.
I don't think so either.
Now, the key is to find something that you enjoy doing and you're getting paid for it. Man, that's a blessing. That right
Mhm.
there is the ultimate goal of having purpose in life.
Mhm.
But if you're in the beginning stages, like you in your 20s, in my 20s, I like 26, I was already kind of figured out what my purpose is at the time, and I followed it, and it cost me relationships and it cost me some suffering, but I was true to myself, and in the long run, end up benefiting me and teaching me a lot of things. So if you ask yourself, how do I know if I'm living a life of purpose? Ask yourself, does what I do make me fulfilled?
Mhm.
Does the life that I live, relationships that I have, and the craft that I do, those three things, does it make me fulfilled?
Mhm.
If at least two out of three of those, the answer is yes, then for the most part, you are living a life of purpose.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Yeah, for me, um, I feel very blessed. I typically feel like I'm living my life with purpose, and am a very happy person. I'm usually, just loving life every single moment of it. The one times that I feel like I get a little bit depressed are when I'm not really doing anything. If I don't have something to be working towards, or if I don't have something I'm working on, or something I'm passionate about, then I get very depressed and I don't feel like I'm living for any purpose. So yeah, if a few days go by where I'm just not doing that much, then I get kind of depressed and I lose a lot of motivation. Um, so since I've been in that before and been in that loop, how would I find my purpose if I didn't know what my purpose was?
A lot of men struggle with that, including myself. And for me, when I didn't have clear purpose in my life, when I felt like I was wasting my time, my life, was when I had this nagging voice inside of me, like my mind or my heart, whatever you want to name it. Every single day, I would wake up with it, and I'll go to sleep with it. I'll wake up with it, and I'll go to sleep with it. And it made me feel like I'm wasting my life. And the problem about that feeling, right, is the longer you go, the worse it gets.
Mm-hmm.
Because you think, all right, tomorrow I'll feel better, I'll hit the gym. Or tomorrow I'll feel better, I'll get on this project. And
Mm-hmm.
then guess what? You wake up the next day and it's like, nah, I still feel like
Tomorrow,
shit.
tomorrow,
Tomorrow. And then
tomorrow.
tomorrow. And it's tomorrow. And then what doesn't help is also your circle of friends.
Mm-hmm.
How do they influence you? You share with your friend, and do they tell you, oh man, like poor Jesse, bro, it's all good, man, let's go have a drink, let's party it up, let's hit up some girls, and make you feel better. Okay, you go do that, you drink, you go party with girls, you do what you do, but then guess what, tomorrow when you wake up, feel the same way. So eventually it becomes you indulging into vices to silence that voice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because that voice ends up turning into real depression over time
Yeah.
if you don't nip it in the butt.
Mm-hmm.
Because then when that turns into real depression, guess what you go after? You go after drugs,
Mm-hmm.
alcohol, women. That's
Would you
first
say
level.
that creates a habit too?
It does.
Like being in that cycle, it can create the habit of doing nothing, and
It
it's
does.
harder to break out of a habit than it is, to get into one. Getting into one's easy. You're not really thinking about it. You're just like, oh, tomorrow, tomorrow. But yeah.
If you don't know how to break out of it, it does become a
Mm-hmm.
very destructive habit. And I'll give you an example. I have a friend. He is in his 40s, mid 40s, and he's a womanizer, big time womanizer. And he's good with women. Like this guy is very popular. He knows how to get girls. He's a great guy, good heart. There's a point in my life where when I was a cop, I thought like, okay, cool. Like the more girls I get, the bigger status I'll get in the game,
I
and
was there.
the happier it'll make me feel. And
Mm-hmm.
so I did it, and it's gotten to a point where it became overwhelming. And I remember having a conversation in one time. I was like, hey man, like you in your 40s, bro, like you still got all these girls, you date all these young girls, and then you switch them like every month or so. And he was just like, bro, honestly, like I don't really want to do this no more. But one, I don't know any better, and two, I don't know where and how to stop.
Mm-hmm.
So he's been doing it for so long, for at least 2 decades, and he's been so good at it. So he doesn't know how to stop and when to stop. He
Mm-hmm.
doesn't know anything else. So at some point, it becomes a destructive, like you said, habit when you don't know just how to break the cycle.
Yeah. Would you say that also for him, for example, being in that situation, it's harder for him to form a bond with a good girl because he's, going in and out of these relationships? It's kind of like he's getting numb to the fact of, a girl saying this thing that would make someone normally feel very special, but he's heard it
Mm-hmm.
1,000 times from
Mm-hmm.
1,000 different women. So, you know, what are your thoughts on that?
I haven't asked him that question before. So if I were to answer your question about his train of thought about it, I'll be guessing. But I can answer it from my own
Mm-hmm.
perspective.
That's what I'm asking you.
I've done there. I've been there and done it myself. I've gotten to the point where I've had so many women, I guess, and I was at some point actively like going out with like 4 or 5 different women. I had like girls on speed dial or so, and and it became an overwhelming full-time job. Like you gotta say so many good mornings, you gotta say
Mm-hmm.
so many good nights. I started confusing dates. I started, confusing promises, and it started getting toxic, right? Because when they started like kind of seeing that I'm on the phone with others, and eventually it became draining and it became toxic. And then I also realized that okay, it's really not hard to find a girl if you want to date a girl, and it becomes sort of an autopilot. And so, like you said it earlier, you do it so many times, it becomes a routine.
Mm-hmm.
And when it becomes a routine, now you yourself don't know which one is genuine, which one is not, because it all becomes the same at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to catch myself early on, and God blessed me with one special woman who I end up, selecting and choosing to spend the rest of my life with, who's, now the mother of my child and my wife. But not everybody can get that lucky. Like our story of meeting each other really, was made by God. Like I was
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be there, she wasn't supposed to be there, and I left and I was brought back by like, to this day I think it's the Holy Spirit that dragged me, dragged me
Mm-hmm.
back there, because I don't have no justification why I should have been there, the place where I met her. So yes, I definitely agree with you, man. If you don't, as a man, don't catch yourself doing something routinely out of pure pleasure,
Mm-hmm.
that pleasure will turn into pain eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Because let me tell you, man, when you date a lot of women and then you start noticing their red flags and you don't nip it in the butt right away, and then it becomes toxic, and then women can do some crazy things. Some
Mm-hmm.
crazy things. Like I don't want to get into right now in this episode, but I highly recommend for a lot of young guys out there. Okay, if you want to have fun, have fun. Right? I'm not gonna be hypocrite and say absolutely no. But be smart about it. I'll tell you right now, I've been I guess I call myself a loser, right? A not popular kid in high school. And I went to college, and then I worked out, built myself, built my body, built my mindset, got confident, became a police officer, and I got all the women I want.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't make me happy. It didn't. It wasn't fulfilling.
Mm-hmm.
My relationships weren't purposeful. They weren't fulfilling me. They were pleasant.
It was like a
I
little
had a lot of
dopamine hit that you
pleasure.
had to keep going
Yeah.
back to because it would go away and then you'd have to
Yeah.
re-up on it.
Exactly.
Essentially.
Sometimes multiple times a day with
Mhm.
different women.
Yeah.
Sometimes, different women at the same
Mhm.
time. And then it goes away because it doesn't fulfill you.
Mhm.
It's like, one leaves, or you call an Uber, and then it's like, well, I'm bored.
Mhm.
There's no substance behind it. And if you don't catch yourself, you start slipping. And it is other things out there that can cause a lot of trouble for your life. That we all know how crazy some
Yeah.
women can be. So yeah, this thing is definitely true, man. It's definitely true.
Do you think that there's such thing as the one, or do you think that the one is someone that you choose to be with?
I think there's the one.
You do?
I do.
I think you're lucky to have that thought. Because I feel like a lot of people, I don't know if they just don't find the one or if they don't, choose to. I feel like I don't really know. I don't know how I feel about that one. But I feel like a lot of people don't feel that way. So I feel like that's a blessing that God, put upon you.
I appreciate that, and I always said, and I will say that yes, God has blessed me with the one. But I tell you what, there's something that I've done myself
Mm-hmm.
that I think He saw, and He sent the one into my life. And I'll tell you why. Because you mentioned something earlier. You said a lot of people can't find the one, or they don't choose the one. Now, the
Mm-hmm.
choosing part is obviously on you.
Mm-hmm.
As a man, you choose what woman you want to marry. But the find part, why are you looking for somebody? Like, what makes you so desperate to find somebody?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll explain to you why. When people look for other people as source of happiness, that's when problems happen.
Mm-hmm.
When I was 25, I dated this girl who was 20, right? We had a 5-year gap. It's the longest gap I ever had with any woman that I dated. I was 25, she was 20. Good looking girl, sexual life was great. I would go as far as saying I was like blinded by what. And I was like, well, she's my everything. Like, I love her. She's my source of happiness. She is a human being.
Mm-hmm.
People are unpredictable. People change. People have bad habits, and there are red flags. Over time, I started noticing red flags, bad habits, character traits, immaturity, emotional immaturity, and that will start taking the toll on our relationship. And I was by far not perfect. I'm 25-year-old kid who, I think I know everything. Obviously had my bad character traits, and we ended up having a pretty bad relationship towards the end, where I think she was the first one that out of all my relationship that I broke up with her. I was like, listen, I had enough. Like, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
She was really upset. Like, her ego was like crushed.
Mm-hmm.
I remember she just hated me, dude. She hated me so much that afterwards, when I applied to be a police officer, and you have to say, okay, this is the person I dated from this year to this year. Like, she was the only one person who like tried to actively mess it up for me. Like, she
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like she was that
Yeah.
butthurt. But I tell you the story to highlight one simple fact. What I've learned from that relationship is that I would never make anybody my source of happiness. Now, I have a daughter, and obviously that's different. Like, when I look at my little baby girl,
Can't help but being happy.
dude, she's my source of happiness.
Mm-hmm.
I will die for her, and I will kill for her. So when I say I will never find anybody and make him a source of happiness, I take that back.
That's an exception.
Kids, okay? But do not ever make a mistake of making any woman, in your case, because you're a man, and for those of you, women, talking about men and vice versa, or whoever you got, whatever you identify as. Don't make another person your source of happiness, because people change and people have character traits, and people have bad habits and good habits, and over time people change.
Mm-hmm.
If you make somebody your source of happiness and that person stops loving you, what are you going to do? It's going to suck. It's going to hurt, and it's going to make you fall into depression.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just talked about depression makes you use drugs, alcohol, vices, all that stuff. So what I learned, I will never make anybody source of happiness. Instead, I said, I will work on myself. Because I read somewhere a long time ago, it said if you, instead of looking for this perfect person that you want to date or marry, work on yourself to be the type of person that person would want to be with.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, that makes sense. If I'm an asshole, why would other women date me?
Mm-hmm. Good women, at
Good
least.
women, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, if I want to date a good woman who's loyal, intelligent, good looking, respectful, respectable, got good morals, got good values, got good head on his shoulders, will respect me, will take care of me, could be a good mom, could be a good wife. What kind of man do I have to be to find that kind of woman?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I gotta grow up. I gotta be mature. I gotta be responsible. I gotta carry my weight on my shoulders. I gotta be protector. I gotta be provider. Blah blah blah. Blah. List goes on. Am I all that? Not really. Well, let's work on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I started making myself better. And the first thing I did is I literally invested into finding my own happiness. I'm like, I want to make myself happy alone.
Mm-hmm.
Because in case if I don't find anybody who may want to date or marry my crazy ass, at least I'm okay and happy alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I really did. I really did. I would go out, have dinner by myself. I would go watch a movie by myself. I was okay with being alone. As a matter of fact, to the point where I learned that being alone is dangerous. Because if you figure out how to be happy alone, man, people really can fuck with you.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow, along the way, once I figure out, okay, I'm confident and happy by myself, with myself, I've made myself better, that's when the Lord just dropped an angel into my life.
Mm-hmm.
And
It was
now,
almost
fast
like you
forward
were.
a few
It
years.
was almost like you were ready. You know, and
Exactly.
he kind of knew you were working on yourself and working on becoming the kind of person that your partner would want to be with. And he said, I think he's ready.
Exactly. And
Mhm.
I understand that better now as a father because I'm like, okay, I understand that one day my daughter will grow up and there's going to be a boyfriend, lucky bastard, and somebody out there is going to try to date her, marry her. Like, if this fool is a nobody in life, hasn't amounted to nothing, doesn't have the right hand on his shoulders, I would never want my daughter to marry this guy.
Mm-hmm.
No, I want somebody who I can look at and say, okay, you know, this guy has the character traits to be a protector, provider, take care of her, love her, treat her with respect, and be a good husband and a father.
Mm-hmm.
So then what's different? He saw that I'm trying to get myself better, and he placed her into my life. And I'll go in further. I'll tell you something else. If you ever talk to Nicole, ask her. She had to go through the same thing with her. She dated some dudes who were, you know, losers, I guess, whatever. So she's like, you know, I'm going to work on myself to be better. And I'm going to make sure I figure out how to be happy by myself.
Mm-hmm.
So she learned how to be happy by herself, with herself. I learned how to be happy by myself, with myself. And then God brought us together. And now we're just two complete people, you know, happy with each other. Now, granted, dude, it's never going to be butterflies and rainbows ever, especially once one day you're going to get a child. It's going to get tough and bumpy. But that's when grace, patience, and all those things come into place where I'm still learning now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm far from being perfect. But up to this point, we're still together, man.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we
You
put
had a
God
good.
first.
You guys both had a good foundation that you were able to build a life on top of, essentially.
There you
Yeah.
go. I actually never thought of it that way, but
Mhm.
you just, there you go, man. Good.
So someone said, "Hey Alex, I love your podcast. I have a job that I don't like, but it pays well, and I'm passionate about making music. Should I stay here or do music full time?"
I don't know much about making music. You probably know more about me. But I tell you what, I've left a job that paid me really well. And it took a complete leap of faith into something that I can't say I have no idea about, but I'm only a couple of years into it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had a very secure job. I was working in a police department that I just, you know, retired from last year. Secure job. It's a 9 to 5. I had a nice position that I worked for, that I got. I was getting paid well. I had benefits, medical insurance, all of that. So I gave all of that up. And I was making good money. Like, you can look me up on Transparent California and you can see how much money I made. So you don't leave those kind of jobs that I did. You know, some people said you're crazy,
Mm-hmm.
but I did, and I left it. And it
Did
was,
you leave it immediately, or did you work on your business while you were there and then eventually transfer over? Did you just straight drop yourself right into the fire?
No, I didn't drop myself into the fire. Although when I made a decision to quit, to retire, and it was a lot of fire going on.
Mm-hmm.
Big time fire at the time. That was big because I had my daughter on the way. I had all of my money, and cash money invested into both businesses, and I was like, God, what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
But before that, about a couple of years before that, I have already been involved in Cube World. I already had, was involved in business and entrepreneurship. So I already gave myself like a 2 year training out, I guess you would say, and a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of cushion experience to be able to navigate my way out. And it's through a series of events that seemed unfortunate in the beginning, but then now that I look back at it, I was like, well, that kind of worked out in my favor. That I
Mm-hmm.
was able to hang the badge and call it quits. And again, that looking back at it, certain things make sense.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, I remember I was scared, man.
Yeah.
Going into the unknown, I was scared. But it is when you feel like it's the scariest to jump,
That's when you need to jump.
that's when you need to jump.
So to relate with that and this guy's question, I don't know what level he's at with his music or if he's making money off of it or whatever, but at what level do you think that he should go full time? Because I personally do think that he could totally pursue doing music, but at what point or what income or what level do you think that he should go full time?
It's hard for me to navigate the income bracket because I don't even know what state this guy's from. Maybe he's in California and man, the prices here are high, right? Or maybe he's somewhere living off the good in Bali and
Mm-hmm.
$50 can last him a week.
I mean, I don't
I
think it
don't
needs to
know.
be put to
Yeah,
a number,
like
like
percentage
a,
wise, that's
but
where I
yeah.
was going
Mm-hmm.
with that. If I were to estimate it, I would say this, man. Start off with your with having your 9 to 5 and start working on your 5 to 9 for some time,
Mm-hmm.
where you at least can make 50% of your income with your side gig, then you can leave your main
Mm-hmm.
gig. If you can do that, that means you can figure it out.
Yeah.
If you can pay your rent and basic like maintenance and bills and put some bread on your table,
That's when it would make sense to switch over.
yes. I give mad props to people who just drop everything and based
Just
on just
send it.
faith and balls go after it. That takes some massive balls and faith, that's for sure. But if I were to advise somebody or to advise to this fella gentleman how to do it, I would do it that way because that's what I
Mm-hmm.
did. I spent
Yeah.
a couple of years working, and as a matter of fact, the funny story is I was like, well, what do I do? I came to the point where I start making decent enough money. I was like, well, do I quit now? Do I retire? And then something happened that was like a sign from God. I was like, all right, this is a sign from Him. This is time for me to go. Things would just start happening to me, and it's true when you really live your life on purpose, when you start pursuing what it is that you love doing, man, in a weird way, people start coming into your life.
Mm-hmm.
Doors will start opening for you. You end up in rooms that you're like, what am I doing here? Why am I shaking hands with these people? Why am I talking? Who am I? But in God, universe, Allah, whatever you want to call it, whatever you believe in, respect to all of you guys, it'll start navigating you to
Mm-hmm.
places.
Yeah.
It really
Mm-hmm.
starts
I've
happening
noticed
way.
that too. It's weird. And from my personal experience, I feel like looking forward, you never know where you're going. But when you look back, you see where every connection, every little dot connects to get
Steve
you to where
Jobs said
you
that.
are. And it just makes it so, it's
Yep.
so weird. Everything when you look back is simple to see. You're like, oh,
Yep.
that made perfect sense on why all that happened and how that happened. But looking forward, you're just like, I have no idea what's
Steve
going on.
Jobs said that as a phenomenal quote, and I use it all the time. It's a powerful one. He said, "You can never connect the dots looking forward.
Mm-hmm.
You can only connect
a
them
great
looking
one.
backward." And this guy, he studied what? Calligraphy? But it's calligraphy that gave him that experience and the mindset or whatever it was in that class that made him just design this beautiful device called iPhone and make the apps and the software and just the design so flawless and perfect. I mean, from calligraphy to iPhone, iPad, iPhone, iPod.
Mm-hmm.
Remember,
Yeah.
it was fantastic. But he said himself like, yeah, why the hell did I take calligraphy? I don't know, but that played a massive
Mm-hmm.
role into how I was able to perfect
Yeah.
iPhone.
Hmm.
So
My dad always says that you do what's going to pay the bills, and then you work the rest of your time working towards what's going to make your goals and dreams come true. So, in the example of you, you were, a cop, and you were doing that to pay the bills, but you were working on your businesses that were going to make your dreams and goals come true. And once it came to a point where it was able to supplement basically your basic living expenses, then you were able to switch over and really go full time and pursue that. And I've always thought that that was a like good advice.
yeah, one thing I'd like to add though, I did not become a cop to find a job to eventually go into business. Being a police officer was my true passion.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna be a doctor. Yeah, I went to school to be a doctor, and I didn't like the field, and I was lost. The first time in my life, I'll share the story with you. In my 20s, I was 25, 24, 25. I was like, well, I hate being in a hospital. I majored in biology. I'm about to graduate soon, like in a year or so. I don't know nothing else. That's my field. I majored in biology. I took all the science classes. And I don't want to be a doctor. And I really had nobody to talk to. So I remember, and I'll tell you right away, this is the first time ever when I really, really prayed to God. And it was in Irvine. I remember driving around, UCI campus in my car, and I just like started crying, dude. I was like, Lord, I don't know if I'm praying right. It's been a while. I grew up in a religious household. I've been doing a lot of sinful things, but I need help because I'm lost and I'm confused and I don't know what to do. And I just remember crying and driving around and I talked to him like straight up, like just help, just please help me. I don't know what to do. And again, I don't know exactly how things started lining up for me, but I found this new passion in law enforcement. Why through meeting certain people, professor who was a retired cop, he had teaching he was teaching classes on gangs, and I developed this passion for law enforcement. I went to law enforcement. I loved it. I loved every
Mm-hmm.
bit of it. I have mad respect for law enforcement, for first responders. I thought I was gonna be chief of police. I was like, man, I'm gonna give this 30 years of my life. I'm gonna promote. I'm gonna make a difference. I'll be chief of police. Blah blah blah. You know, give it a few years. Switching a couple of departments, I realized, okay, I love the job, but that's not what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to get into reasons why. And along the way, that's when I met Kevin. That's when I
Mm-hmm.
learned about business. I was always interested in business. That's when I got into this industry. And little by little, now I am where I am. So
Mm-hmm.
to kind of just clarify like my personal journey, no, I didn't go into the being a police officer or into 9 to 5 just to make enough money to go into business. I
Yeah,
just
the way that I was
passions
saying that,
changed.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
The way that I was saying that, it's not, sorry. A lot of people have a job that they're currently working, and they may have really loved it when they got into it,
Mhm.
but they have something now that's more of a passion. And or let's say they really, the income ceiling of whatever said job is not as high as they would like
Mhm.
to be able to provide the kind of life that they would like. I think it's more like that when they're in that kind of position. It's like you keep working on that thing because it's keeping you alive, it's paying your bills, and that
Mhm.
allows you to really work on your passions.
And that's okay if you
Yeah.
if your passions change. There's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with that. I mean, look at Kevin, dude. When I met him years ago, there was no Cube World Media. There was no Cube World Films or Cube World Production. There was no World Transporter. Like World Transporter grew because me and him just kept getting screwed over by brokers. Like, you know what, we're gonna start our own logistics company. Cube World Media, like that was just because he loves raves and EDM music, and he's like, dude, I want to be into it. But
Mhm.
before it was none of that. So it's okay when your passions change. You develop. What if you just become an absolute expert in drone operation? Like there's nothing that you don't know about operating a drone.
Mhm.
And it's like, okay, cool. I've learned that. I've mastered that. I've spent hundreds of thousands of hours. Now I'm gonna learn how to operate underground drone or whatever you name it.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna learn how to how
Submarines.
to how to fly
Yeah.
a F, unmanned F-55 whatever jet or
Mhm.
something, right? So they say it takes about what 10,000 hours to master a craft, and
Mhm.
that's fine. But passions can change, or along the way you can find something, or you can create something that becomes your new passion.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is my passion. I don't make money off of this. I hope and I believe in my heart of hearts that one day this will be paying for itself and bringing income. But I'm on my fourth season, fourth year, and I do this because I love doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I do this and I invest into this every single day, into myself as an interviewer, as a podcaster, is in a studio, because I enjoy doing this, and I'm blessed to be able to provide for, for the studio and for my guests and whatever I have, electricity and a roof over our heads. But my true passion also changed over the years. Like, I love public speaking.
Mm-hmm.
I love coaching as well. Like, I'm working on something right now that I don't want to disclose, but it's in the works. I've been coming along for about a year now, but I'm working on it. Sometime this year I will announce that as well. But that's a passion developed in the last year or 2 years. So things change.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay.
Is there on. Is money important when it comes to choosing purpose?
Yes and no. And I'll try to thread carefully about answering this question, is because if you have purpose, you found purpose, you created purpose, and you live a life and you love your craft and you get paid for it, that is a blessing. Like like the Japanese culture, they always say, like, if you have a craft that you love doing and you get paid for it and you get to serve people through it, like those three things, that is the ultimate source of happiness, and I believe in that. But I want to be careful in saying that whatever you enjoy doing, if it's not paying your bills and you have a family to feed, you have to consider that. And if it's not paying your bills and you have a family to feed and you can provide for them, which is your main responsibility and your duty, you got to think about that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a family to feed and you have responsibility and a duty and you have this purpose and it's not even serving anybody but you, then you got to really think about it. Because let's get, I guess, a little philosophical about it. Like, Jesus was a carpenter.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't a rich man, but he served humanity. He died for humanity. Now, I don't want to get into like the religious aspect of it, why, how, but he was a historical figure. He existed. We have records of that, and he was a rabbi, and he was crucified. But he served people. Was he a rich man? No, he wasn't. Was he murdered, crucified? Yes, he was. Supposedly, according to records, did he heal people? Yes, we have records of that. Like, Romans were fantastic at documenting everything. Was he happy? He was. He served the purpose. Now, is everybody like Jesus? I wish. I wish. So it's, as a man, you have to ask yourself, okay, is what I'm doing taking care of me, my family, and also serving others?
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, if it's a yes to all three, yes, what I'm doing, yes, what my purpose in life is, what I enjoy doing in life is serving me, my family, and I get paid for it, and it's serving others, that is purpose. Otherwise, it's maybe just a hobby or interest or something else that you want to
Mm-hmm.
call it. So it falls on you as a man to figure that out, unfortunately. There's no right or wrong answer.
What if you don't have a family and you have no desire of having a family? You know, like someone who enjoys, for example, van life and being in nature, and they feel like that is their purpose. Do you think that there's something wrong with that, or do you think that that's, you know, their purpose?
Well, by van life, all they do is just find everyday pleasure in themselves. There's
Mm-hmm.
nothing they contribute to society or others.
I guess so. I mean, maybe they could, I don't know, maybe they like helping out and cleaning up the beach and, you know,
Okay, that's some form of
maybe a
service.
little bit of like forms of service, but they really just love, you know, surfing and traveling around and, you know, meeting new people and whatever, and that makes them happy. Do you think that that would still be considered having purpose, or do you think that they could be doing more?
You never know what's going on in any person's head or mind.
Mm-hmm.
We all walk different paths in our life. We all wear different pairs of shoes, right? And we walk miles in them. You don't know. I want to begin with that. But if I were to see that person that you just described to me, right, in a perfect world, I would still hope that there's something they're doing in their life, even to the smallest degree, that serves the world. Because if you live life purely and purely out of self pleasure, I don't think you really are living purpose.
And I feel like they might say that they feel like they have purpose, but they might not actually feel that way in their heart of hearts.
If you're constantly chasing pleasure, then ask yourself why. Why do you have the need to chase
Mm-hmm.
pleasure? Because if you're constantly chasing pleasure, you're really not gaining wisdom, knowledge, and experience. Wisdom, knowledge, and experience don't come from constant chasing of pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
Other things come from that. True wisdom, true experience, knowledge, and servitude to people comes from rough times,
Hardships.
bad times, hardships, failures, again and again and again. You think people who are mentors and coaches and people who inspire others think their life were perfect? Absolutely not. I've yet to meet one successful person who's good-hearted, or kind-hearted, if you want to say, who hasn't been through a lot in life.
Mm-hmm.
It's what they've gone through, the hardships, the betrayals, the breakups, was what made them who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Because they've overcame all that, and then they realize, okay, this made me a better person, and I want to help others to either not go through it, or to at least help show them how to go through all that stuff. And if you don't do that, bro, you're just a selfish person. If
Mm-hmm.
you don't help others, you're a selfish person. You have to leave this world better than you found it. But we as humanity tend to do it the other way around nowadays.
Yeah. Someone else asked, they said, my girlfriend didn't want me to move out of state to pursue my dream. We've been together for a long time. What should I do? Should I leave her or should I stay?
That's a great question. I faced that issue twice in my life. The first time was with that ex-girlfriend I talked about, right? The five year gap. This company tried to recruit me and send me to Russia. Very rich company, the oil rig company, and they're like, "Hey man, we're building a station over there. You speak the language. Let us put you there. You make really good money." And I remember talking to her about it, and she was like, "Well, we're gonna break up right now." And I was like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, I don't want to invest further into our relationship, and just gonna break up like right now, right now. You do your thing, and I'll do my thing." I was a little hurt at the time. I was
Like,
like, "All
this
right."
is a discussion.
Yeah, I was like, "Wow, okay." I remember I was a little upset and hurt at the time, but this ended up not happening because the company's like, you know what? There's some conflict going on, some war started. We're gonna put that on pause right now. Cool. Fast forward to 2015, 2016, right? I was dating my girlfriend at the time, serious relationship, and it came time to go to the academy, police academy. That's when I was obsessed with being a cop. Like that's my purpose in life. I'm gonna be a cop. I was clean. I didn't smoke any weed for years. I placed myself away from all the bad friends, bad places, moved away, like rebuilt my life to be a perfect candidate to be a police officer. Academy started. I'm like all in. I want to be, top 5 or top 10, graduate my class. Monday to Friday is the academy. Saturday, Sunday, I'm still training extra. I'm sleep deprived. I'm like studying and working out. It took a toll on the relationship. And I remember one time we got into an argument because it was a UFC fight, and I love watching UFC fights. And she lived like about 45 minutes to an hour away. She's like, "Well, I'm doing a UFC fight night party at my house. I'm inviting people. I want you to come over." And on the same day, my friends invited me over. My friends live 10 minutes away. I was like, "Honestly, babe, like I'm just gonna go right here, 10 minutes away. I'll have a beer, have some wings, and I'm come home and crash." She got really upset. Got into an argument. She got really upset. She didn't talk to me for like a couple of days, whatever. We ended up meeting up, I don't know, the following day or a couple of days later. We met up at Starbucks. And it's a dramatic scene, right? And she's telling me, like, "Listen, I'm just so fed up with you. You're obsessed with your academy. You're there Monday to Friday. Then you work out and study on Saturday. You work out and study on Sunday. And academy is very sleep depriving. Like they put the stress on you for a reason and sleep deprive you. Like I was so sleep deprived. I remember we went to a Red Hot Chili Peppers concert and I fell asleep in the middle of the concert. That's how sleep deprived I was. And she's like, you don't have time for me. For our relationship, it's declining. I feel like you don't love me. And rightfully so. She had all the reasons to say that. She had all the reasons to say that. Everything she said. And I just said that. I listened to her, and I told her, you know what, babe? This has been my dream for a few years now. I've done everything I could to be able to get in here. And I'm working my butt off to graduate, top of my class, or at least one of the best recruits and police officers, and pursue my dream. And I'm willing to sacrifice our relationships if I have to, because I will never place my purpose
In another
number
person.
two and anybody number one. I will never take any woman or relationship above my purpose. And I remember it really hurt her feelings. She sat there quietly, and I could see just like tears forming in her eyes. And I understood why. No woman would ever want to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
No woman would ever want to hear her man tell her, you're number two. My purpose is number one. And I remember she stood up. She's like, I'm done. And me being the immature, egotistical me, I said, you know what? You walk out that door right now, we're done. Like, we're done. Long story short, we ended up breaking up anyways. Because I was like, listen, I can't do this no more. Like, this is what I want to do. This is my purpose. This is my dream. And I might regret losing you, but I'm all into this.
Mm-hmm.
And I left her. I graduated the academy. I become a police officer. I'm like a couple of months into probation. I'm like a cop. On probation, I'm a cop, right? I get to sleep. I get to rest. We only work 3 days a week. Now I miss her like crazy. Now I have the withdrawals, the breakup, the regret. I hit her up. I'm like, hey, blah, blah, blah. Let's connect. I'm sorry. And she tells me, you know what? You left me and you chose to follow your purpose. And somebody else came into my life. And I'm dating him. And we're serious. So I'm sorry, but I can't betray him like that.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, I respect that. That broke my heart. That broke my heart because I made the decision to do what I did.
Mm-hmm.
I made a decision as a man to stay true to my purpose, true to my dream. And I left her. And I suffered for a few months. I went through like a depression. I didn't know it was a depression at the time. Years later, a therapist told me, hey, man, you went through a depression. And I'm glad nobody told me that at the time because I would have felt sorry for myself. And be like, oh, my God, I'm going through depression. Poor me. I just pushed through. I worked out. I worked my ass off. I worked as much as I could. And I read. And I just got my mind off it. And I healed. And I got through it. I did some therapy as well. Well, my point is this, man. At the time, I chose as a man to do what I wanted to do. Did it suck afterwards? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Did my decision sort of backfire at me? Yes. Did I go through depression after that? Yes. But at the end of the day, I stayed true to my word. I stayed true to my purpose, to my calling, and to my dream. And fast forward 10 years, I have no regrets, man.
Mm-hmm.
It made me a man that I am today. It hurt. It sucked. I went through it. I healed. But it built me as a man.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the kind of decisions you have to make as a man. So the gentleman who asked me that question, now I gave two different examples in two different stages of my life. That is the decision you have to make yourself. There's no right or wrong decision in life. What makes you a man is having to make a hard decision and live with consequences. There's never going to be 100% right decision making in your life. Sometimes you're going to make a decision that you think is the best, but it's going to suck.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to hurt. And it's going to hurt others. And unfortunately, that's the responsibility and the role of men in life. That's what makes us men. We should be making our decisions based on reason, logic, and not emotion or feelings.
Mm-hmm.
You know how women say, I feel like this, I feel like that. I don't like when men say that. So I think, I rationalize that this is what this is. I think this is what this is. Not I feel like. We're not women.
Mm-hmm.
We're men for a reason. No disrespect to you ladies.
Do you think that you could have potentially gone about it another way also, and still, gave her a little bit more attention and still also done the academy and completed it and done, everything that you wanted with that? Or
Of
do you,
course.
yeah?
Of course. There's many different things I could have done different, brother. There's so many things I wish, I can go back and say should have done different. But I don't live my life based on regret.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned very early on in my life I've done something that made me regret it very deeply, very deeply. And I learned in my early 20s that I will never, ever die with regret. I would rather try something and fail or die trying than be on my deathbed and say, oh man, I wish I've done this. Regret sucks, bro. It will
Mm-hmm.
eat you alive. It will eat you alive, and you have to forgive yourself. So, could I have done things better? Absolutely. Could I have maintained the relationship and still be with her? Absolutely. But I don't care. I've made my decision. I've lived with it. I've suffered the consequences. Nobody else did. I did. And ultimately, because I was honest with myself, with her, true to myself, I sleep good at night. And God has blessed me with an amazing woman. You know, she actually, I had a lot of fun. And then that ended, and I met a beautiful woman who is now a
Mm-hmm.
mother of my child and my partner in life. And I'm pretty good, man. I'm pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But at the very least, I sleep good at night, man. I have no regrets about that.
Mm-hmm.
I've done what I've done. I made a decision, and I've lived with the consequences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like it built a lot of character in you. Ed Milet says that he feels like what would happen if, you know, he gets to heaven and God shows him the best version of himself that he could have been. And he says his biggest fear is looking at that person and not recognizing them. And that every day he works towards being able to, when that happens and he gets to that point, he looks and he's looking into a mirror. And I find that so powerful.
I'm very glad that you know people like Ed Milet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of guys your age, unfortunately, they know who Travis Scott or whatever these random rappers are, but they wouldn't know who Ed Milet is or Andy Frisella or Tony Robbins or Jordan Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the modern day Socrates
Yeah.
type of guy. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Like one of my biggest fears is to let God down.
Mm-hmm.
And I also don't want to piss him off while I'm living my life because I know I've seen him do good things in my life. I've seen him to like give me chances and open doors for me to the point where I was like, all right, if I don't follow what he's telling me to do, he's going to be like, you know what? I'm going to bestow a life of misery upon you because I'm tired of you. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think he will because, God's love is infinite. But I didn't want to get there or anywhere near that. I was like, all right, I get it. I get it. I'm going to get my act straight by you and I really work on myself because, man, it's tough. Like when you really try to invest in yourself, really, that is the toughest, ongoing, most challenging time and effort and energy consuming task
Mm-hmm.
your entire life because you will never stop.
Mm-hmm.
You will never stop. There's always something you can do better, become better, learn to do better, and improve, improve, improve. It's a never ending
Mm-hmm.
task.
What's that saying that says, I asked God for patience, so he gave me, I don't know, like hardship or
Mm-hmm,
whatever.
mm-hmm.
Um, what do you know? I'm
Yeah,
trying to
it's
remember that
I
saying
know
off the
it's
top of my
I
head. It's
asked
such a good
well it's
one.
kind of like the antonyms, right? I asked God for patience and he gave me the irritating
Yeah,
situations to
the,
deal
the
with.
opposite.
I asked him for kindness and he sent me bad people into my life.
Mm-hmm.
I asked him for it's basically you pick the exact opposite.
Mm-hmm.
You pick the antonym, not the synonym to
Yeah.
whatever you're asking for. And it's true. It's true because I've done that.
It reminds me of what you're talking about. You know, how you're saying the hardest thing is working on yourself. And that's because when you want to work on something, then God gives you the opposite, gives you this hurdle that you overcome and you become better
Hmm.
through working through that. But it's hard, you know?
God is never gonna give you the vision of your journey. He's only gonna give you the vision of where he wants you to end up and what he wants you to do.
Mm-hmm.
He's given it to me. Like I still have the vision of where and what he wants me to do embedded in my brain every single day. I know what it is. I don't know the journey. And so far, the journey has been challenging.
Mm-hmm.
And I know why he does that. He does that, for example, because if he shows you, Jesse, that this is where I see you, this is what I see you do, big, great, phenomenal things, but your journey for the next 20 years is going to suck. Jesse's going to be like, yeah, you know what, God? I'm all right. I'm just going to, like, do okay in my life because I don't want to, like, go through this, breakups, losing people, hurting myself, losing money, going bankrupt, getting stabbed, whatever
Mm-hmm.
it is. You're not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So he gives you the vision, but he holds back the journey and he just walks you through it.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes he carries you through it. Because a lot of times, man, he carries you and your cross with you
Yeah, sometimes
together.
he forces you to go through
Sometimes
it.
he's like,
It's like you're gonna deal with this whether you want to or not.
yeah,
Yeah.
believe it or not, man, that's how he works. Because I truly believe that if he was to show us what we have to go through to get to where we want to be, people would be like, nah, I'm good, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, no, the journey that you're going to walk in your own life, same as me, the journey that I'm walking in my own life is the journey that I have to and you would have to go through in order to get to where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
In order to develop the skills, the accolades, the character traits, the experience, the wisdom to be the person that you want to become.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, thank you, Alex, for answering these questions, and please send him more questions so I can keep asking him these. It's a fun podcast, and I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you, Jesse. Appreciate your time. Appreciate you being here. And, this is a great conversation, man. Thanks for the follow-up questions. And, all of you guys who have questions, please ask. We're open book. If you have questions for Jesse. Jesse represents a generation of guys in their 20s. I'm already in my 30s. So please, ask away. We both know that there's not enough good, masculine, healthy male role models out there. A lot of us see all these fake gurus, and if you want to just have a good communication, ask a real question, send an email, comment on a video, DM me, and we'll answer all those questions. Until then, Jesse, thank you, and see you guys next time. God bless.